Hello everyone, this is Travis Knapp here, and we're going to be talking about non-precision approaches today. Okay, so here are our references that I'm going to be pulling from. The FAA's Chart User Guide, it starts on page 96. It has a lot of really great information. We'll go over that here in a second. The AIM 4, TAC 4, 5, TAC 4, TAC 5 is the instrument approach charts section of the AIM. And then the Instrument Procedures Handbook, Chapter 4, has approaches in it. And then the Digital Terminal Procedures Supplemental, which is really just like a grouping of some of the stuff in the back of the Chart Users Guide. And then just really quickly, we're going to go look at the Chart Users Guide. So this is what it looks like. It goes through step by step and will give an explanation of each specific thing, right? Like what are some of these nuanced things, the dating of the plates, all the marginal data, all this stuff down here. What does that actually mean? So if you have a very specific question, this is where you're going to find it, is right here. All right. And then the Digital Terminal Publication Supplemental has this really great profile view where you can go through line by line. Again, this is also in the chart supplemental. Okay, we're going to go over or the goals and success criteria here is to be able to do three things: to identify, brief, and fly a non-precision approach. And by identify, I mean choose the appropriate plate for that airport. So there's a whole slew of non-precision approaches. So I've kind of listed these in order from most common to least common. And so the ones we usually fly is the VOR, the localizer, LNAV, LNAV, VNAV, LPV, and LP. And then those last five, the ASR, SDF, the TACAN, NDB, and ADF, are a little bit more archaic and less common. The VOR, of course, we're just going to be using a VOR radial to track and do step downs based off of that. You have to have some way to identify DME if we're going to do that. The localizer, so if you're flying an ILS but there's not a glide slope, you're still using a localizer's signal but just doing step downs. And then those four in blue are GPS approaches. And so based on equipment, so the LP and the LPV, you're going to need WAS. And then for the LNAV, VNAV, you either need WAS or Baro aided GPS. And then LNAV, you just need an IFR certified GPS. All right. And the only one I'll mention down here specifically is the ASR. That is the non-precision radar guided approach where ATC will be telling you turn left this many degrees, turn right that many degrees, descend to this altitude. Okay, so we're just going to briefly go through how to fly each one of these. So we'll start with a VOR. So a VOR, you see here in the top left, it's got all the VOR information here. It's got your final approach course, some notes for you, right? Circling at night, not available. Really don't recommend circling at night ever. And then, so here's MQP, which is our VOR right in the middle of the plate. So sometimes this is in the middle of the approach, sometimes the VOR is all the way over here, and so you're only flying outbound, or sometimes it's located on the field, and so you're flying inbound toward the VOR. In this case, it functions as both the initial approach fix and the final approach fix, and that's a little bit more relevant here in this view. You can see as we come over MQP, that's going to be our, that's when we're going to be able to start our procedure turn, and then when we're back inbound on 309, then that's our final approach fix. So while we're flying outbound, you can get down to 3,000. Inbound, you can cross after you're reestablished on 309, you can drop down to 25. And then our minimums, and of course, here's our circling minimums right here. And that's a VOR. One concern here, if the VOR is in the middle of your course, you're going to have those VOR errors of the cone of confusion. So as you get closer to the VOR, just fly the heading that was keeping you on the track. Okay, localizer, again, this is also a radio signal that we're getting from a localizer. And so keep in mind that this is also paired with the ILS, right? ILS localizer. But for the localizer here, just like the VOR, pink is both our initial fix, our initial approach fix, and our final approach fix. So the procedure turn, you can get out at 2,500. When you're back inbound, you can come down to 2,200. And this is a funny thing, right? 2,200, and it's pointing, this is your ILS final approach fix. Pink is going to be our localizer final approach fix. So you got to stay at 2,200 until you pass pink. And then, of course, you're going to be using the localizer. All right, GPS. So GPS has a bunch of step downs. And so if you're just flying LNAV, you're going to fly these altitudes as you descend through. But if you're flying it like an LPV or an LNAV, you're going to have a decision altitude, much like a precision approach. However, it's still considered a non-precision approach. All right, and again, the LPV and LNAV VNAV require WAAS. The LNAV VNAV, you could also use a baro-aided GPS, and then an LNAV, if you only have an IFR GPS with none of those characteristics, then you must fly the LNAV, and that's an MDA. So, yeah, thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, please let me know. Also, those reference materials are going to help you out and be able to answer any specific nuanced questions on these plates.